Hello and good evening and happy holiday weekend. This is Dave Edelstein for Better Than Before, live on Facebook, talking to you about all things to do with communicating, relating, and being mindful while you're doing it. I thought I would follow up a little bit on yesterday's talk about getting together with your family, which many people sadly do find stressful. I understand that. Um, no one is being judged for finding it difficult to relate to your family. Your family knows you in ways that other people don't, and treat you in ways that other people don't. And sometimes it's difficult to get that feeling of being known or being as respected as the person that you have become instead of the 4-year-old that everybody remembers you being. Um, uh, Sometimes it can be stressful to find that although you are now in your mid 40s, your family continues to remember that mud-caked little child that you were back then. But putting that aside, now, we get together with the family, and sometimes people drift off the family togetherness goal, which is important, and it's the real reason that you should be together. Um, and they drift off the family togetherness goal, and they start voicing opinions about politics, religion, other hot button subjects that just rile people up. Um, Keep in mind as you hear someone doing this that it isn't about you, it's about them. Their need to do this in a family gathering is a sad need to call attention to themselves and has nothing to do even with the opinion being voiced. It's about a need to be right, a need to be admired, a need to tell everybody else that they're wrong. And this is sad. No one actually should need to do this, especially among family that is gathered to enjoy and experience the feeling of being together and connecting with the people who are closest to them in the world. So, what's the best way to deal with someone who starts spouting off like this? The best thing you can do, really, although this may seem passive, it isn't really. The best thing to do is listen. Listen carefully, listen actively. Things said may really offend, annoy, disgust you. Let it go. Because behavioral psychology teaches us that the fastest way to quench an undesirable behavior is not to respond to it or even to ignore it. Listen to it. Listen to it. Let the person see that you have heard it so that they don't feel the need to keep repeating it over and over and over again. Let them see that you have heard it. Perhaps even say phrases that say, so what you're saying is, to show that you understand it, but don't fight it. Just show that you've heard everything they've said, and then do not respond to it. Do not respond to their pro or anti-Trump opinion. Do not respond to their pro or anti-religion opinion in these days of religious holidays. Don't get into it. Show them that you have heard and understood, but do not be drawn into argument. It will not pay. And again, the fastest way to quench an undesirable behavior is to ignore it. You can only control yourself. I say this often. You can only control yourself. You can't control other people. That family member, that loudmouth family member, you can't control that person. Their loud mouth is going to be heard, but you do not have to react to it. You don't have to take it seriously. You don't have to let it bother you. Remember, no one can make you angry. You become angry in response to certain kinds of triggers. You can much better spend the time that you would spend arguing being mindfully aware of what's going on inside you and why these opinions bother you quite so much. What's harmed here? What's hurt here? What sore spot in you has been touched? You don't have to judge yourself negatively for having sore spots. We all do. And your sore spots may be in good locations. Allow yourself to understand why these things that are being said hurt you or make you feel, not make you feel, but get a reaction from you, cause pain that makes you feel that you need to react. You don't have to react. It's not a requirement. And this is a nice growth opportunity for you. In a way, we all ought to seek out things that bother us and start to bring up that volcanic kind of anger reaction or that terrified sort of fear reaction so we can, what is frightening here? What is enraging here? What values and principles am I trying to defend here? It's a good chance to get to know your own values better. But don't react. Do not get involved with Uncle Loudmouth. It's his problem, not yours. His need to say these things is a problem for him. Let it go. You don't have to get involved. You won't correct him. You can forget about trying to convince him that he's wrong. If this relative goes into truly troubling zones, advocating violence, being cruel to other family members, truly violating legitimate boundaries, that may be a moment to become assertive. Do not speak to my child that way. This is my child. I will defend my child. Do not speak to my child that way. It's not appropriate for an adult to speak to a child that way. That's a legitimate thing to say. You don't have to get all excited. It'll have more power for your not being excited. Do not speak to my elderly parent that way. Do not speak to your wife or husband that way in front of me. I think it's wrong. You don't have to get aggressive. You don't have to get loud. You don't have to get violent. You just have to say, you have reached my limit. You have reached my limit. We're here to be family together. You don't want to get into an argument about it because then that just that just gives that person more fuel to keep going. Let it go, let it chill. You can only control yourself. You can't control what they will say when you assert yourself, but you don't have to. You've asserted yourself. Now let it go. So, let me wrap it up. I wish you a cool, assertive, rational, but loving and enjoyable family time during these days. Have a good evening. See you tomorrow.